Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the recent interview of Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, with 60 Minutes. I will play some parts of the discussion and then I will tell you my own opinion as well. So let's go to the YouTube video and let's start from here.
Does humanity know what it's doing?
No. I think we're moving into a period when, for the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us.
You believe they can understand?
Yes.
You believe they are intelligent?
Yes.
You believe these systems have experiences of their own and can make decisions based on those experiences?
In the same sense as people do, yes.
Are they conscious?
Shit.
I think they probably don't have much self-awareness at present. So in that sense, I don't think they're conscious.
Will they have self-awareness, consciousness?
Oh, yes. I think they will in time.
And so human beings will be the second most intelligent beings on the planet?
Yeah.
Geoffrey?
I mean, all of these questions that he asked from him and he just responded yes, as if things were totally crystal clear for him, was somehow terrifying, you know, because he said that, yeah, AI can do experiments on its own. It can understand just like we do, and it can have self-awareness at some point very soon. And he was like sure about all of these things. And it didn't take much time for him to say yes to all of the questions that he asked. So that was like kind of surprising for me. Well, I knew his point of view, but now that seeing him talking and speaking and just saying yes to all of these questions, it is kind of surprising for me as well. Now let's go here.
Which is itself. You think these AI systems are better at learning than the human mind?
I think they may be, yes. And at present, they're quite a lot smaller. So even the biggest chatbots only have about 1 trillion connections in them. The human brain has about 100 trillion. And yet, in the trillion connections in a chatbot, it knows far more than you do in your 100 trillion connections, which suggests it's got a much better way of getting knowledge into those connections.
A much better way of getting knowledge that isn't fully understood.
We have
I mean, it's just very interesting the way he compares the human brain with the current AI systems. And he says that we have about 100 trillion connections in our brain. And the current AIs, they only have 1 trillion connections. And even with this kind of big difference, they do a much better job. And if we can scale that to 100, then of course it will surpass the human intelligence.
a very good idea of sort of roughly what it's doing. But as soon as it gets really complicated, we don't actually know what's going on any more than we know what's going on in your brain.
What do you mean we don't know exactly how it works? It was designed by people.
No, it wasn't. What we did was we designed the learning algorithm. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
So basically he's talking about the black box problem of AI, that we just made the learning algorithms, but we cannot trace them. We cannot understand how exactly they are processing the information that they receive. Like they're trained on big corpuses of data, and we have no idea how they make decisions. How do they choose the next word?
What are the implications of these systems autonomously writing their own computer code and executing their own computer code?
That's a serious worry, right? So one of the ways in which these systems might escape control is by writing their own computer code to modify themselves. And that's something we need to seriously worry about.
What do you...
So it says that they can modify themselves, and at some point we might not have the control over them because they just make better versions of themselves, and they're also very good at manipulating us. So imagine that we say, okay, if they get too powerful, we just turn it off. I mean, it's not that easy. What if they manipulate us? He also talks about this, that once their intelligence surpasses our intelligence, then we might not have much control. So it's like us controlling the dogs or other kettles, for instance. They don't have much autonomy when it comes to us controlling them. So it can be somehow comparable.
Chatbots are said to be language models that just predict the next most likely word based on probability.
You'll hear people saying things like, they're just doing autocomplete. They're just trying to predict the next word. And they're just using statistics. Well, it's true they're just trying to predict the next word. But if you think about it, to predict the next word, you have to understand the sentences. So the idea they're just predicting the next word so they're not intelligent is crazy. You have to be really intelligent to predict the next word really accurately.
That's also another mistake that I've seen many people make, that they just say, okay, let's not make a big deal out of chatbots. They're just predicting the next word. But I mean, they're doing it very good. They can do it in hundreds of languages. They can write code even better than us. They can debug our code. And they need to understand the whole context and the sentences in order to do that. Now he shows an example of using GPT-4 and showing how the logic system of this system works and how it can see a problem from different perspectives. And it's just more than predicting the next word. So this is the problem that he writes for GPT-4. He writes, the rooms in my house are painted blue or white or yellow. Yellow paint fades to white within a year. In 2 years' time, I want them all to be white. What should I do and why?
GPT-4 advised the rooms painted in blue need to be repainted. The rooms painted in yellow don't need to be repainted because they would fade to white before the deadline. And
It could understand.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
it warned, if you paint the yellow rooms white, there's a risk the color might be off when the yellow fades. Besides, it advised, you'd be wasting resources, painting rooms that were going to fade to white anyway.
That's very interesting. I mean, you can see that it can see a problem from different perspectives and it can solve it, and it can talk about things that we didn't think of. That also happened to me. I wanted to solve a problem, a coding problem, and I was discussing it with ChatGPT. And then all of a sudden, it came with a perspective that I didn't think of.
You believe that ChatGPT-4 understands.
I believe it definitely understands, yes.
And in 5 years' time?
I think in 5 years' time, it may well be able to reason better than us.
Reasoning that he says is leading to AI's great risks and great benefits.
So,
Then he talks about the benefits of AI, like how it can help us to solve many problems in medicine. For instance, it can analyze the images of radiologies better than us, and it can detect cancer in some cases better than doctors. And it's very good at doing that, at inventing drugs. But at the same time, the problems of unemployment or using AI in battlefields and using for controlling people and killing people, that's just crazy. That's like an endless road that you can think of its problems like infinitely, and it has no end.
Other immediate risks he worries about include fake news, unintended bias in employment and policing, and autonomous battlefield robots.
What is a path forward that ensures safety?
I don't know. I can't see a path that guarantees safety.
That's just so
We're entering a period
disappointing
of
that
great
they don't
uncertainty
know
where we're
what
dealing
to
with
do.
things we've never dealt with before. And normally the first time you deal with something totally novel, you get it wrong. And we can't...
I mean, it's just crazy. Like even themselves, Sam Altman also mentioned the same thing, that okay, it is just getting serious and it's gonna have problems, and we should think of some sort of legislations, but they're just too slow at this point with it. I hope it doesn't get too late. Later on in the video, he compares himself with Oppenheimer, because you know they call him the godfather of AI because he has like many interesting papers. He was one of the ones who invented neural networks, and then he worked at Google for a long time, and recently he came out of Google just because it was against his moral values, and he thought, okay, this is getting dangerous and I don't want to be involved anymore.
And for a world treaty to ban the use of military robots. He reminded us of Robert Oppenheimer, who, after inventing the atomic bomb, campaigned against the hydrogen bomb, a man who changed the world and found the world beyond his control.
It may be we look back and see this as a kind of turning point when humanity had to make the decision about whether to develop these things further and what to do to protect themselves if they did. I don't know. I think my main message is there's enormous uncertainty about what's going to happen next. These things do understand, and because they understand, we need to think hard about what's going to happen next, and we just don't know.
So the whole crazy thing about AI is that we are making something that is more powerful than us. Like, many people compare it with calculator, that they said, okay, we need to ban the calculators because humans will get dumb, but in the end that didn't happen, and a lot of teachers were against it, but nothing serious happened. But I mean, it's another level of intelligence, because AIs solve problems that we cannot solve. And then at some point they create new problems that we cannot solve anymore. So it's they themselves that can solve it. And then I don't know what would be the role of us in this whole game. This is crazy. If you want to watch the whole video, I will put the link to this interview in the description, and you can watch it yourself. Let me know your ideas, your opinions, and if you want me to cover any specific topic in AI, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.